Hello, Peter Scallan here from SailCork. At SailCork, we've always been big fans of Met Eireann and their weather forecasting products and their ability to predict, particularly in the context of Irish conditions. Because we live on the boundary of an Atlantic system and a continental European system, our weather can be more chaotic than most areas of the world. And Met Eireann has a huge wealth of experience in predicting and developing forecasts specific to our area. We always urge caution when you look at apps, particularly those developed in continental areas such as the United States, purporting to tell you what's going on at 4 p.m. in the afternoon in 60 days time and percentage chance of rain in 4 days time. They're not really designed around our system, that boundary-based system that we have. So traditionally, Met Eireann have said their forecasts are only reliable 5, 6, 7 days out, and they've increased that recently. But today, on the 5th of January, they've announced a few new products which are really useful to us as sailors. So I'm going to take you through some of those products on their website. They're also available on their apps. I'll use a computer here, but they're equally accessible on a tablet or a smartphone. So let's have a look. So this is Met Eireann's website, which we'll all be familiar with. And there's some updates there, which I'll just go through the three areas that are new to it. But we'll go down to the bottom here and we'll see that we have the announcement of the new products from Met Eireann. And they have had the 10-day forecast for some time, but they've enhanced it a bit recently. And we're going to have a look at that. And when Met Eireann changed their website about 4 or 5 years ago, many of us lamented the loss of the fronts shown on the charts, that they've been left out of recent charts. But from now on at midnight every night, they're going to show the surface pressure chart with the frontal systems on it, with warm fronts in red, cold fronts in blue, and then occlusions or occluded fronts in magenta. And they're very useful, particularly to tell us what's going to happen with gusts and with rain, and useful for us as sailors. So we'll have a look at where to find those in a minute. But the really exciting one, I think, here is the long range forecast. Now, Met Eireann have always avoided long range forecasts of the 10 to 40 day variety because of concerns about the reliability. And this one comes with a huge health warning themselves. They're saying, as they say it in their terminology, there's a loss of skill the further you go out over the 40-day period. But it is useful to indicate what the trends are. And the ability to do this comes from the collaboration they have with many other Western and Northwestern European state meteorological bodies through ECMWF, and that's the model they're using. So it's not just one country, it's countries such as Iceland, Norway, Spain are all involved in this. So there's a huge amount of expertise here, and greater understanding of the jet stream and what's happening with polar air is indicating, it's giving the ability to forecast this. So let's go and have a look for a start at the latest reports, and the new one here is the surface analysis chart. So let's have a look at that. So this is the surface analysis chart published at midnight, and we'll just blow it up a little bit. So it shows this area of high pressure that's dominating over Ireland in New Year 2021, and what that's doing, it's keeping the lows away out and further out in the Atlantic, and even the lows in Southern Europe away. And at the moment we have a very strong northeasterly or northerly cold airflow, and you can see it from that. And as you can see at the moment, there are no fronts around, and this is why we're not getting any rain, whereas there would be a lot of rain here, particularly around the occlusion and where the cold front catches up on the warm front. So in our weather broadcasts on Facebook, we're going to show you a little bit more of these as the months come. So that's the surface analysis chart, and that's click on latest report and surface analysis chart. The next I'm just going to show you, just set it back to 100% size again, is two forecasts. I'll show you the existing 10-day forecast, but they've enhanced it. And there's 4 types of forecast here, and it projects out over the 10 days. So this is the one where many of us will be familiar with for the North Atlantic, showing pressure and rain. And you can just click play there, and it jumps every 6 hours and shows you the trend of the pressure and the bands of rain. And as you can see, in early January 2021, that high is still a blocking high over the Atlantic is still happening. And I'm recording this on a Tuesday. We're now 4 days out, which is the Saturday. And you can see the low of north of us is being pushed away, and we still have that ridge of high pressure. And that's going out through Monday evening, Tuesday. And then it starts to break down on Tuesday. And we'll see the lows attempting to come in on Wednesday. And there we, but still a blocking high for the next week. So that's a very useful 10-day forecast. We can also look at air mass, and it's over the same period. And what it's doing, it's showing the regions of warm and cold air, and it's written here, and you can read it yourselves. And we'll just play that forward in light of what we played a few minutes ago. And you can see where the cold air is coming down from the north, but it's been blocked by occasionally by streamers of warm air coming up from the Atlantic. But as you can see, coming into Thursday in the northern parts of the country, and Friday, we've got that big tongue of cold air coming down into Ireland. And then with the warm air coming at us on Saturday, Sunday again, which will be moist air. And then we'll see more cold air coming early next week. So that's very useful to tell us what's going to happen with temperature. Here's one that I always like, is airflow, when it's produced by other organizations. I'm delighted to see Met Eireann produce this, and it's airflow. So you can actually trace where the air is coming from, and you can just follow it back. So as you can see, the air is kind of rotating around here south of Iceland, and eventually it loops back to us. But as we move on a few days, you'll see that the air will originate in the polar region. So I'm just going to accelerate that a little bit. And you can see on the previous chart that was showing that tongue of very cold air coming down. And you can see the source of it. And the color is the intensity of the wind. So you can see all this very, very cold northern wind coming down off Scandinavia will come down to us at the weekend and give us that very cold air. And another new one they have is wind barbs. And this is the sailor's favorite, of course. So the wind barbs, they're like little fletches of a feather. So before I press play here, so I'll just look over the Mayo coast. The way the wind barb is, it's like the fletches of an arrow, the feathers on an arrow, they're at the back of the wind barb. So in this case, the wind over Mayo is flowing from the northeast. So that's the direction. It's the end with nothing on it. It's the tip of the arrow. So one barb means 10 knots. One and a half barb is 15 knots. Down here we have 20 knots. Down here 25 knots. And eventually all the way up to 45 knots. And when you get to 50 knots, you get a triangle. That's the time to be at home beside the fire. So let's just play that on. So as you can see, mostly we've 10 to 15 knots, occasionally 20 knots on the south coast from the north or the northeast over Ireland over the next few days. But this is a super chart if, for example, we were planning a trip down to Spain, which would take about 4 days. And it gives us a forecast 10 days out. So we could pick our opportunity to plan a trip to somewhere like Spain or across to the UK. And we see as it plays on. And you can see up north of Iceland here, we've got the little triangle on some of the barbs. That means it's 50 knots plus. That's not one to be caught out in. And mostly over Ireland here, we've generally, sometimes a little bit chaotic here, but mostly northerly. And then from the west then here, up here. So that's 20 knots from the west, 25 knots from the southwest. So that's the 10-day forecast. So let's have a look at the monthly forecast. So it's here under national and regional forecasts. You click forecasts, national and regional, and click monthly forecasts. So let's have a look. And it's a narrative text, which takes us out week by week. They're going to issue this twice a week, every Tuesday and Friday. So this is the one for Tuesday, the 5th of January. So in the next week, we've high pressure expecting to influence Ireland's weather this week. The north to northeast airflow looks like it's set to dominate. Well, we've seen that on the shorter forecast. What's new really for Met Eireann is projecting out 2, 3, and 4 weeks. So as you can see, they do put a health warning on it. The forecast confidence declines in week 2. but they give you an indication that the weather is more unsettled. And we can see that a little bit when we looked at the charts, that Atlantic weather is starting to come in. And then in late January, there's lower confidence in the forecast. So they're protecting themselves here by not over predicting, just blowing that up a little bit. But weather conditions to remain unsettled with low pressures, which is not unusual for January. And we'll have warmer air, so reduced risk of frost. And by week 4, confidence is much lower. However, there's a trend towards unsettled weather with low pressure expected to be positioned nearby Ireland. That's nothing new to us. So that's something new from Met Eireann. We'll watch that as it develops, and we'll feed that to you in our daily forecasts from Eddie and from myself and from the rest of the team. Okay, so that's some exciting new products from our friends at Met Eireann. Do check the SailCork weather page, and we'll have links to that, or Met Eireann's page, or their new apps. It's met.ie, or download the apps free of charge. Stay safe, keep smiling.